Welcome to News Mongolia, where we bring you the latest stories and updates from across the nation and beyond. I'm Batsir Namshar. On the News Mongolia today, ODIHR opens election observation mission in Mongolia. Mongolia and China conclude joint army drills in the Gobi. The government of the Republic of Poland provided machinery and equipment worth 4.1 million euros to the health sector. For the news, stay tuned. On May 21st, the OSCE Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights opened an observation mission for the June 28 parliamentary elections in Mongolia, following an invitation from the national authorities of Mongolia. The mission is led by Ambassador Jennifer Brush and is composed out of 11 experts based in Ulaanbaatar and 18 long-term observers who will be deployed throughout the country from May 28.
The OSCE Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights has also requested 250 short-term observers to arrive shortly before the election day. The mission will assess the local election for its compliance with the OSCE commitments and other international obligations and standards for democratic elections, as well as with national legislation.
Elections are the temple of democracy, a forum where every citizen of Mongolia, man and woman, young and old, rich and poor, can determine the destiny of your country. Elections are not a privilege, they are a right. We look forward to observing Mongolia's government officials, politicians, civil society and media outlets inform Mongolia's citizenry of their rights and providing an infrastructure so that every eligible voter can go to the polls on election day and make his or her choice for Mongolia's parliament, Mongolia's future. Democracy is hard. You can never take it for granted. We have to be vigilant and challenge threats to democracy. To quote the great British statesman Winston Churchill, "No one pretends that democracy is perfect, but we know that it serves the people better than any other form of government." Thank you, Mongolia, for choosing your path to democracy.
Observers will follow voter and candidate registration campaign activities both offline and online, the work of the election administration and relevant state bodies, and the use of technology in the election process, as well as looking closely at the legislative framework, political and campaign finance, and the resolution of election disputes.
This is the 5th election we will observe in Mongolia. We have observed every election since the country became the 57th OSCE participating state in 2012, except for the 2020 parliamentary elections, which we did not observe due to the public health considerations and COVID-19 travel restrictions. Let me give you some information about our mission. Our core team consists of 11 international experts from 9 OSCE participating states who will be based here in Ulaanbaatar. These experts will be assessing the upcoming elections for its compliance with OSCE commitments and other international obligations and standards, as well as with your national legislation.
They will also assess the implementation of prior ODIHR recommendations. Comprehensive monitoring of the media is an integral part of the observation. Throughout its observation, the mission will hold meetings with representatives of the national authorities and political parties, as well as with judiciary, civil society, and the media. An interim report will be published some 2 weeks before the election day to update the public and media during the observation.
By the end of this week, we expect the arrival of 18 long-term observers. They will then receive a comprehensive briefing and will be immediately deployed to their areas of observation throughout Mongolia in international teams of 2 observers. In addition to the long-term observers, we're requesting 250 short-term observers from OSCE participating states. The final number of short-term observers will depend on the number of secondments by the states. Short-term observers will arrive shortly before Election Day and will be deployed in multinational teams of 2 throughout the country. They will follow all Election Day proceedings, the voting, counting of ballots, and tabulation of results. After Election Day, the mission will stay in the country until 9 July to follow the post-election developments.
On Election Day, the ODIHR Election Observation Mission will observe the opening of polling stations, voting, the counting of votes, and the tabulation of results. The day after the election, the mission's preliminary findings and conclusions will be presented at a press conference. A final report assessing the entire election process and containing recommendations will be published about 2 months after the end of the election process.
Mongolian and Chinese troops conclude joint army training Step Partner 2024 held in Mongolia's Dornoi province. The joint army training aims to further strengthen the cooperation between Mongolia and China, which was already well established in the trade and economic sectors.
This activity is a joint training aimed at strengthening strategic mutual trust and practical cooperation between the two militaries, focusing on how to combat the activities of illegal armed groups and adding positive momentum to regional peace and stability.
Mongolia and China have a long history of diplomatic relations, and our armed forces are maintaining partnerships. This time, the training was successfully organized on the territory of Mongolia under the theme of fighting terrorism. Mongolian Army Grand Force Command attached great importance to this training.
The Chinese participating troops were chosen mainly from the armored forces of a brigade under the Chinese People's Liberation Army 79th Group Army, encompassing fire assault, operational support, logistic support, and other specialized forces, CCTV said.
According to the plan, policy and planning interoperability exercises were also conducted.
During the training, the Chinese and Mongolian troops set up a command center and carried out joint planning, tactics research, and targeted training on military operations. During the closing ceremony, a certificate of attendance was awarded to the participants of the training exercise by the Ministry of Defense of Mongolia and the Minister of the National Defense of the People's Republic of China. The closing ceremony further continued with cultural performances.
Timely delivery of healthcare to citizens can prevent chronic complications at a later stage. Ambulances outfitted with specialized equipment perform crucial duties. The government of the Republic of Poland has provided 35 kits and 20 ambulances worth 4.1 million euros to health centers.
For example, there are 4 ambulances in Bagnur district. On average, about 20 seriously ill patients are transported to Ulaanbaatar monthly. Patients with severe chronic diseases and those in need of urgent care should be transported without delay by specially equipped vehicles. However, only 2 ambulances available at the First State Central Hospital. Despite their service life having already ended, they have been providing care to the people for many years.
An ambulance is used to transport blood products, and for other internal needs. However, having only 2 ambulances in a large hospital with 850 people and 500 beds is insufficient. When a brain-dead donor arrives at the National Trauma and Orthopedic Research Center of Mongolia or the Third State Central Hospital in Mongolia, immediate transportation with fully functional ventilators and other necessary equipment is crucial.
Given that the Bagnur district is situated along Millennium Road, traffic accidents frequently occur. The ambulance provided to us by the Polish government is fully equipped, enabling us to deliver emergency medical care inside the vehicle before transitioning to hospital care. To address these challenges, 20 ambulances were delivered to hospitals at the initial phase. Additionally, as part of the project, 11 pieces of molecular biology laboratory equipment and 3 stationary X-ray machines were also provided.
The credit agreement that was signed between Polish and Mongolian government in 2017 was for 50 million euro, out of which around 4 millions were dedicated for the project related to healthcare, and within this project 35 ambulances were provided by the Polish company Stolarczyk to the Mongolian Ministry of Health, and they will be all provided for Mongolian provinces. So most probably one or two will stay in Ulaanbaatar, but the rest will go to the provinces. They are tailor-made for the Mongolian harsh conditions, and I believe that they will be very useful in the countryside.
Especially equipped ambulances can carry 22 types of essential equipment, such as portable inhalers and oxygen cylinders. Increasing the availability of ambulances that meet these standards in other health facilities is crucial.
Now let's take a look at currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Now let's take a look at international news from our partner agencies. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock said on Tuesday that there has to be way more done with regard to the support worldwide for Ukraine. Baerbock met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kiev.
After visiting a local power plant that was largely reduced to ruins by a recent barrage, Baerbock stressed that sending air defense systems to Ukraine to help protect it from Russian cruise missiles, rockets and drones was an absolute priority. Baerbock said that what she called a global initiative launched by Germany to provide Ukraine with more air defense systems had raised nearly 1 billion euros, equal to $1.09 billion, but more was needed.
Thank you so much for your support. And we are very thankful to place best regards to Chancellor and to all the team of government. We are very thankful for big military support and big financial assistance. And we count on your support.
So what we are doing for the people of Ukraine, but also for the European peace order. So no need for thanking. But I see that there has to be way more done with regard to the support worldwide, but also from the European level.
Germany is the second biggest supplier of military aid to Ukraine after the United States. Ukrainian officials have for months pleaded with the country's Western partners to supply it with further sophisticated air defense systems, especially US-made Patriots, so Kiev's forces can fend off Russian air assaults that have pummeled the country during the war. Civilian areas as well as the power grid and military targets have repeatedly been hit. While the bombing goes on, Ukraine's depleted troops are trying to hold off a fierce Russian offensive along the eastern border in one of the most critical phases of the war, which began on February 24th of 2022. Germany recently pledged the third US-made Patriot battery for Ukraine, but Kiev officials say they are still facing an alarming shortfall of air defenses against the Russian onslaught. The Kremlin's forces have used their advantage in disguise to debilitate Ukraine's power grid, hoping to sap Ukrainian morale and disrupt its defense industry.
Thank you so much. All the best. Thank you.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you on Thursday with more news and updates. Goodbye.